الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we'll continue the course, inshallah. We'll go through the points where we left off in the etiquettes of the sake of knowledge, and the etiquettes in seeking knowledge. It's a very important topic. How we went past the past lessons, we mentioned about the etiquettes of the sake of knowledge, how important it is, and how important the points you're taking. Take these points like you're taking something that's going to do with your life. Very, very important. And not all of us can make all the points work, but if at least some of them can come, in reality, it's good enough, inshallah. Sometimes when we hear all these points, especially in the etiquettes, living in the West, sometimes you think it's too much. You feel like it's heavy, because we weren't raised in an environment where the etiquettes are well known, like how we're mentioning. So once we hear these points, we're like, oh, it's so hard. All these points are coming to us, like etiquettes, but this is the norm. When we say the norm, this is what was known between the mashayikh and the ulama and the tullab ilm, the seekers of knowledge. So sometimes it does feel like it's a lot, but taking as much as you can and implement as much as you can. Nobody's going to expect from us to be 100%, but if we can at least implement a few points, inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open the door for us and make it easier for us to get where we need. We left at point number 17, acquiring knowledge from a qualified teacher. Very important, but very, very important point, that it has to be from a qualified sheikh. YouTube, the social media is not a qualified person. Understand that? It's not a qualified person. Yes, there's mashayikh that teach on there, but are you considered a student of knowledge, just taking your knowledge off the internet without no reason? No. You have no reason at all come to the masjid. For example, you have to seek knowledge on Allah, that's something different. But if you have the opportunity to come to the masjid and seek the knowledge under the hands of the mashayikh, and you're taking it online, you're not a student of knowledge. You can benefit 100%, but considered a student of knowledge or the student of the sheikh, you're not. One of my mashayikh were asked once, a brother finished a book with him online. So he asked the brother in that setting to ask the sheikh, can I call him my sheikh? The sheikh was like, no. He's like, did I see him? He's like, no. He's like, did I fix him up if he made a mistake? He's like, no. He's like, did I teach him etiquette? He's like, no. He's like, how's he my student? I don't say he's my student, or he doesn't say I'm his sheikh. So as much as you can, attend the lessons. I'm talking about someone that, if you taking online is no problem, if you have no choice but to take online. No choice. Like, I can't attend. I'm at work somewhere, I have to look through online. But if you have the time and opportunity, are you considered a student of knowledge? That's a big question mark on that. Big question mark. Because the ʿilm, it's known to be taken from the hands of the scholars, from under them. Sitting under them, looking at them. They're giving it to you right. They're fixing you up. How you sit, how you talk, how you act. And we're going to go through the points now. So acquiring knowledge from a qualified teacher. The basis of acquiring knowledge is by way of learning from qualified teachers, and not through books alone. There's a saying in Arabic, who takes his books as mashayikh, as teachers, his mistakes will be a lot more than his rights. Books are there 100%, but there has to be someone that teaches them. Every book that we open doesn't have an author that wrote the book. It has to be someone to teach these books. So make sure when he's taking something, a book or anything, there's a sheikh that's qualified to teach it. So a sheikh that's taken it with his sheikh. He's taken with his sheikh and he's being told to teach. He's allowed to teach, or he's being given the green light to teach. That's how you take your ʿilm. Sacred knowledge is acquired through transmission, not through studying alone, through books and that. It's not through transmission from my sheikh. Like, for example, the asanid. When you have the sanad to the Prophet ﷺ, from the Prophet to the companions to the tabi'in to after the tabi'in, all the way down to us. A sanad all the way back. Goes all the way back to the Prophet ﷺ. And that's how deen is. From the Prophet to the companions to the tabi'in to the scholars after him to us. Transmission. This sheikh taught him. He taught his students. He taught his students. All the way to us. That's how ilm is taken. It's not, wallah, I feel like opening Fath al-Bari and I'll just read through and my understanding. It's not how it works, brothers. That's not seeking knowledge. That's not seeking knowledge. And the student-teacher chain that leads to the Prophet transmission. It's a mechanism which by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserves and defends His religion against revisionism, innovation, and zandaqa, which is heresy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects this religion by protecting this sanad, this transmission all the way to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if someone would come, like for example, that has memorized the Quran, yeah, and he would take the Quran from him. Look how beautiful our religion is. The bloke will read it from the beginning to the end with no mistakes, with no problem. Don't take my book. I took it from my sheikh. I memorized it, I read it on my sheikh, and I took it from the sheikh. And likewise, a lot of the students that I know overseas take away all the books of fiqh from them, all the books of hadith, Bulugh al-Maram, take Umdat al-Ahkam if you want the smaller ones, take al-Muharrar, all these thousands of hadith. Take it, warnator. It's all here. I've taken it from my sheikh's taken it from him, he's explained it to no problem with it. And that's how our deen is preserved. And that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown us the true religion. Look how it's preserved. Take from a 6-year-old kid that's memorized the Quran away, who read it from the beginning to end, no mistakes. Tell the others to read their books, just the first page of the book. Any other religion, first page of the book. None of them know nothing. It is said that whoever enters knowledge alone will emerge alone. Whoever goes in alone, thinking that that's it, it's between his hands, he has the books, he's going to exit alone. He's going to have no one. That's why it's so important to have a shaykh, someone behind you, a mentor, to be with you, to go back to, seeking advice from, asking him questions. Because the book and the word sometimes will be a problematic error, or something in there that you can't, your head can't go around. The sheikh's taking it from his sheikh. That's how you're going to find out the mistakes. The sheikh's going to teach you something or benefit, use something in that point that you're not going to benefit yourself. The biggest problem with getting misguided in our day and age is understanding something, a principle in Islam, and then thinking that you understood it by yourself, and then going to apply it the way that it shouldn't be applied. Why do you think we have the extreme sects? Why do we have the opposite from extreme? We have like the Murji'ah or the Khawarij, the two opposite, literally complete opposite sects. They took the knowledge they think they had, that applied it in a way they thought they understood it. Look what happened. Big problems it caused in the Ummah. And it's almost agreed on this point, except for a tiny minority of scholars who disagreed. He's talking about taking the knowledge from a sheikh. It's almost like he's pretty much saying ijma', like it's agreed upon that you have to take the knowledge from a sheikh or someone. It's agreed upon, almost. He's talking about, except there's a few that disagreed with him that took. And these people, when they say disagreed, they're talking about the person that they disagreed, that person that took the knowledge is probably like a genius in that time, in the era that he lived, in the environment that he lived around scholars and all 1, 2, 3. But very, very, very rarely you would see anyone in history of the ulama who would say they opened the books and took from the books without taking from a sheikh. Very, very rarely. You won't see it. And he said, rather, he engaged himself in taking from books. He was mentioning one of the ulama in his biographies that he did not have a sheikh. Rather, he engaged himself in taking from books, and he wrote a book acquiring a skill by reading from the books. But this is wrong. This is what Imam al-Dhahabi wrote. He was like, this is wrong. It's very, very rare that happens in history, but it's wrong to take a book with no sheikh. You have to understand how you understand the book, if there's errors in the book, if there's a problem in this question, or how you can understand this question. For example, if you take inheritance, can you open the book and take inheritance? Guaranteed none of us can open the book and take inheritance. How you can understand the different types of scenarios, when to apply, when to not apply. I remember when we were taking inheritance, like briefly, in the class the sheikh will point at you. He'll point, he'll say, Malek, this person passed away from this person, left his mum, left his wife, left his sister, and me, I'm looking at him, I was like, he asked him this question needs a book and to sit with a tree and to write, but he's looking at you, he was like, he wants to see how would you reply to this question. That's what you need, a sheikh to look and to see what skill you have, where you're at, to give you the pass or not. Are you allowed to teach or not? What's your level? I remember if I ever want to take a book or go to it, I'll ask my sheikh, I'll call him, message him, tell him, listen, 1, 2, 3. He's like, yeah, take the next book. You're on that level. I remember he's tell a few other brothers, no, they're not on that level. Don't go there. Stay on this. That's what having a sheikh is. Have to have a sheikh. Go back to your sheikh. Very important, basic number 1 rule for women and men. Women, there's a lot of women that have knowledge. between the sisters and the no one. If not, there's always mashayikh to get back to. And there's always ways to reach mashayikh in a proper sharia way. Always. There's no excuse for men and women. Imam al-Shafi'i said, whoever seeks sacred knowledge from the belly of the books will let the rulings go to waste. Whoever takes the knowledge from the books without a shaykh, the rulings will be to waste. You won't understand nothing. What his ruling, what his verdicts is, nothing. Half of the stuff that we learn, a lot of the stuff is from the fatwa of the ulama. Because we want to differentiate between the theory part of it and the practical part of it. Theory, we have all the principles of, seeking knowledge, the books, we have that. But when it comes to the actual moment of the verdict and the situation of that person, how did he give that fatwa? We learn from it. We go back to the fatwa of the ulama. Example, a big calamity fell on the ummah. We know this calamity is the principle of Islam. This is why it's caused. But how do we do it? How do we do with this now? We know the principle is basic, generalized. We can't generalize everything. Situation came to us. How do we do with it? And the student of knowledge has to have insight in this. How do we deal with this that fell now? Calamity. Not, wallah, we're going to get a principle. Basic principle in Islam that, it's generalized and say, Assalamu alaikum. But this is very serious now. The brother is asking a fatwa for you in the circle of the Sharia. How are you going to come to him? How are you going to apply a ruling to him to help him? Is there another door for him? Is there another door? Is there a way out for him to make it easier for him? A taysir for the people. You make it easier for the people. Because this deen is yusr, not usr. It's easy, to make it easy for us. The Prophet ﷺ never taught us to be hard or to find the hard way out. Why do you think we have rukhas, licenses for everything? Like for praying, because it's made easier for us. And that comes back to these stuff when the sheikh, when it comes down to a verdict, inshallah in the future, when people go back to you for verdicts, you have to see the situation. The situation in front of you, the insight. How are you going to deal with this situation right now? And that all goes back to what? Having a sheikh. If you were to look, a lot of the brothers that take the knowledge from the books, they don't know how to put rulings at all. If not, they've caused so much damage in the ummah. So much. To the point where they'll go online, they'll cut and paste a video of 20 years ago, a fatwa of one of the ulama, and they'll put it and they'll apply it on something that happened now. He was talking about something else, but completely different. No, it applies, generalized. He'll go destroy whatever he destroyed here from a fatwa 20 years ago on something that he doesn't know. Brothers, wisdom. That's part of the etiquette and part of seeking knowledge. You have to have wisdom. That's why when we mention all the way you carry yourself, how you go about, how you talk, who you hang around, this all affects you. Your insight, your surroundings. You have to know this stuff. You can't be just ignorant. Know who you're speaking to. For example, the imam of the masjid here, like in the imam, they know the masjid, they know the people, they know how to deal with them. Problem falls between them. They're not like other people, someone that comes from outside and no, he knows how to deal with this certain person because he knows how he's going to react. Do you go to someone that has anger management and smash him for something he does? No, you have to have that wisdom, brothers. And this all starts with having a sheikh to learn from. You have to learn from a sheikh. And he mentioned, Al-Imam Zubaydi said, there are things that exist in the books that divert from knowledge, that are non-existent in the teacher. There's things in the books that divert from knowledge that are non-existent in the teacher. That's what's so important. Sometimes the teacher would say, okay, taking this won't benefit you now, so he'll divert you to what you need to know. Whereas you would go continue going into deeper in that question, or deeper into that where you fall into doubts and misconceptions. That's what's very, very important to have a sheikh. This is from not having etiquettes, taking my phone off thing. That's very important. See? That's from having no insight and knowing that I'm going to be teaching a lesson. I didn't turn my phone off. You have to always know your surroundings, what you're doing, how you're going to teach. It's not a good look. They may be due to distortion that occurs due to resemblance of the letters, the absence of the vowels like nahaw. How much of us know nahaw? When we're reading the books, we read this marfu' or this is majroor, this is a fatha or dhamma on it, and then we change the whole word and we've done a whole ruling on something that wasn't existing in the first place. So this whole rule there, it had a different pronunciation. For example, the nahaw was different. They had no tashkil on it, no dhamma, no fatha, no nothing on it. So we read this in a way, okay, then we put the dhamma fatha on it and it's complete different sentence. Complete different sentence. Very, very important. That's why the Shaykh saying that taking the books from the knowledge from the books without a Shaykh is very, very bad. the absence of lack of experience in i'rab, like we said, the nahaw, corruption of existing books, handwriting that cannot be read, or reading that which is not written, not knowing the madhab of the author, poor quality of scripts, poor transcriptions, lack of stopping at the correct way, mixing up terminology of different subjects, using terminology of one subject in a context of another, the existence of Greek terminology the writer did not take from the Arabic language. Look at all of this is mentioned in the books without taking from a sheikh. You won't know it. You won't know it if you didn't have a sheikh. All of the things mentioned obstruct knowledge, and the learner is relieved of them when he reads to the teacher. So when you have a teacher sitting, and the way that we do it overseas is that the teacher sits, the scholar or a thing, he sits in his book and he has a reader. The reader speaks and the scholars know. When he makes a mistake, mind you, one of them that he's blind. Blind. He doesn't have nothing in front of him. So what he's relying on is what the student's reading. Mind you, he's memorized what the student's read already. So he's blind and he's sitting. Blind. Look at the knowledge. It doesn't mean about your eyesight, nothing. He's sitting there and just, when he makes a mistake, he stops him. Blind, doesn't say nothing, has nothing in front of him. Does an hour and a half lesson. Oh, cilm, knowledge. He makes a mistake, stops him. In i'rab, I'm talking about in grammatical mistake. He done a fatha and a dhamma or dhamma, stops him. No, it's wrong. Go back. Blind. Look how they're serious about knowledge. That's why you have to read on a sheikh. You have to have a sheikh to take knowledge of. Taking from the books doesn't work without the teacher. And then he mentioned here, is like all that was mentioned obstructs knowledge, and the learner is relieved of them when he reads the teacher. If the situation is such, then reading to the scholars is there's more advantage and virtuous than personal studies. And this is what we wanted to explain in his book. For this reason, the scholars said, do not take knowledge from a person who acquires it from the scripts, and do not take Quran from a person who recites it from the Quran from Mus'haf only. Meaning does not recite the Quran to the person who he just read it from the Mus'haf without reciting to a sheikh. Or hadith, in all those knowledges. Everything that you have to take from a person that's taken from a sheikh. That's how our deen is preserved. Our deen is preserved through that. Him correcting him. The sheikh correcting his student. That student that became a sheikh correcting his student. Does not let him slip and mistake, because I'll tell you why. Because if he let that mistake slip, that mistake that he made when he becomes a sheikh and teaches becomes a bigger mistake. And then that becomes a bigger mistake until that sentence changed completely the meaning. Happens a lot. That's why we have a lot of misguidance from misunderstanding of texts and misunderstanding, no teachers, nobody to go back to. Imam Al-Awazi said that this knowledge used to be noble, passed down from men to men. But when it entered the books, the wrong people became involved in it. So before, when the Sahaba and before them, they didn't have books set. But it was like when men got involved and they started writing books, and that's when the misguidance started happening, because people started writing books and they started studying these books, and anyone can just write a book, call it what you want and keep going. True or not? They can just write a book and keep going with it. And that's how the misguidance happens. He'll write something in his book, okay, he's a sheikh, he's a scholar, we'll take from him. That's why you have to focus heaps on that isnad. Transmission from the sheikh to you, to your student. That's how it works. That's how it did, from the Quran, from the hadith, all of it. And then he mentioned, and that's the etiquettes or the methodology of seeking knowledge. I want to just focus on a point. When you seek knowledge, brothers, have a timetable. Have a table. What you need to do. What you want. What's your goals. Times. When to study it. How long I'm going to study it for. You have to have a set timing. A student of knowledge is on his time. You can't be a person of laziness, a person that's known to be late, a person that's always known to show up an hour late, or he's always off time. No. Obviously, we all have that bad habit, but you have to be precise on times. Always on time. For example, after Isha, I got my Quran program, half an hour. I got my Hadith program, 30 minutes. After that, that's an hour. Done, set, 7 to 8. Use your time wisely. Do not waste your time. Every minute counts. Every minute you waste is a minute that's gone. Precisely. Even if, like, for example, obviously every student of knowledge here has work, has any other stuff to do. Use it wisely. You're not studying, you're doing something else that's benefiting you, or you have to do it. either helping your family or you're in work. Just don't be that person that sits there and say, I'm bored. There's no such thing as a student of knowledge is bored. There's no such thing. If a student of knowledge say he's bored or says he's bored, he's not a student of knowledge. One of the things that cancels out, there's no such thing as I'm bored, because the student of knowledge does not have time to say bored. Because if he's not in one thing, he's in another thing. If he's not in this thing, he's in this thing. He's always going. There's no, he'll start stressing himself. He'll start stressing, like, I have 20 minutes. What am I going to do with this 20 minutes? And want to sit there and do nothing. And then sometimes if those 20 minutes goes, he starts stressing about himself, how he lost those 20 minutes. Always be precise on your time. Okay? So timetable. Time everything. What you want and goals. Reach those goals. After you reach them, new goals. Always have this thing you want to work to. Okay? And know that this works until your death. So you're not reaching a finishing line. This goes to your death. Every time you reach a level, know there's level 2 or level 3 or level 4 until level 2000, whatever it is, until you die. But always have that goal. Like, for example, you have your Quran, you're memorized. You have 2 juz'ats a day that you have to do muraja'in. Make sure you do those 2 juz'ats no matter what. No matter what. Your wird, reading Quran in a day, reading from the Mus'haf, 1 juz'at. Make sure you do that. You have a few hadith you have to memorize. Make sure that's done. Tick it off. Work around it. Like I always say, even with your prayers, students of knowledge, even make your day based around your prayers, not your prayers based around your day. The biggest problem we got, we have our work, we have our life, we have a thing, and we base that all what? We base our prayers around that. Like they're the pillars of our deen. They're the one that's going to get you success. Dhuhr time. I have dhuhr at 12 o'clock. We'll work towards that. We're going to stop at 12 o'clock and that's it. Asr, 3 o'clock. Maghrib, 5 o'clock. Isha at 7 o'clock. How am I going to work my day around this now? There's no message. Like, for example, you have these 4 times or 5 times of Fajr as well. 5 o'clock in the morning. These are fixed times. Nothing's moving them. How am I going to work around this now? That's the question of a student of knowledge. That's the question of every Muslim. That should be. How am I going to work around these times? Not, wallah, I want to have these works, or maybe I'll pray dhuhr at 2:30, just before Maghrib, just before Asr, and then I'll pray Asr straight away. Or then I'll pray Maghrib no, it doesn't work like that, because your prayer is what's going to get you success. In seeking knowledge, or in not seeking knowledge as well. But even more for the sake of knowledge. He starts with chapter 3. And chapter 3, the etiquette of the seeker with his sheikh. The etiquettes of the seeker with his sheikh. How do we take this approach? How do we sit with our sheikh? How do we speak with our sheikh? How do we go extremes with our sheikh? Do we not go extremes with our sheikh? How do we treat him? Father figure, brother, uncle. How do we go about that? Very, very, very important. Very important. And I mentioned this in the last lesson. Customs do play a part. A little bit, not a lot, in etiquette and all that. But universally, it's all the same. Men and women. How she's going to sit in front of the woman that's teaching her, with her friends. How she's going to speak. How she's going to speak with men around. How she's going to cover herself. How she's going to take that approach. Men as well. How they dress from the sheikh. How they speak to him. How they go about. How they sit with him. Is my legs going to be facing towards him? Am I going to go back like this? I'm going to make this off. I'm not interested. All this plays a part, brother. This is all etiquette. Etiquette. Considering the status of the sheikh. That's the first point, 18. The sheikh is the seeker's guide on the path of this knowledge and should be afforded the utmost respect, given the utmost respect, honor, appreciation and courtesy. Utmost, without being extreme. The sheikh is a father figure for you. A father figure. If he's younger, he's a brother for you. Meaning like your older brother. No, wallah, I can't sit next to him. I can't sit under him. How am I going to sit under him? Who I am? Sit on the floor. Are you saying the tabi'in that sat under the companions, you're lowering them? Or the companions that sat under the Prophet ﷺ, you're lowering the status? Or the scholars that sat under the tabi'in, you're lowering the status? Or the students that sat under the scholars? The people that got you the deen, that you have too much pride to sit on that floor to take knowledge? Never been heard of in Islam. Never. Never. The seeker should display manners when he's in the company and consideration, but not limited to. The manners of sitting with him. Manners of sitting with the Shaykh. How you speak to him. He's not one of the boys. He's not your mate. He's not your sister that you can speak or chuck words. Be mindful of your tongue with the Shaykh. Don't let him have a bad image of you. Especially the older mashayikh. They don't have our customs. They don't know like how they go between us. Like they don't know that stuff. How we speak and that. Sometimes they look confused when you're speaking how you speak. Have manners with your Shaykh, how you speak to him, how you act to him. Not turn your back to him, not speak loudly to him. He's your Shaykh, father figure in your father's place pretty much. He's giving you what you need for knowledge to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The manners of speaking to him, like I mentioned, your tongue. Watch your tongue with your Shaykh. Watch your tongue with the Shaykh. Swear words. That's 100%. That's not with anyone. Using different. Try your best being simple with the mashayikh. You know, don't use our terminology that we use between us. Try our best to have that way of speaking to the Shaykh that we know. Okay, this is different than how I am with the boys, or this is different how I am with the sisters. I can't speak to the Shaykh how I speak with the brothers, or how I speak with my sisters. Or no, have that etiquette, have that respect. And this goes to everybody, but what I'm talking about now, when we speak with our Shaykh, the manners of listening to him. Brothers, this is very important. How you listen to the Shaykh. Give him your eyes, your ears, your heart. Give him your hands, give him your whole body, facing to him. Never ever lean towards sideways to him, or your back to him. Never be looking different directions when speaking to him. When he asks you a question, eye contact. Not in a way of pride, eye contact in knowing that you want to reply to him. Don't have that push where you're looking at him like you're, like you're on top. You can't. You have to. He's staring at me. I have to stare at him back. I'm a man. He's a man. No, have that respect. إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء. The people that fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from his servants are the scholars. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that status. Who are we not to give him that status? But without going to extremes, like some sects do, where they give him literally the position of a god, literally, or a position of a prophet. Wouldn't say he's blessed. Wouldn't say his spit is blessed. Wouldn't say his breath is blessed. Wouldn't say that stuff. Wouldn't go to the extremes. But we have etiquettes with the Shaykh. He said displaying good etiquettes with the books that you're reading to him when you're reading to him. Etiquettes when you're reading to him, how you read to him. When he stops you, when you're reading, do you get angry? Do you start sweating? How are you stopping me? He's like, how are you stopping me? I've been reading the Quran for 20 years, how are you stopping me? Do you start getting annoyed when the Sheikh's stopping you and correcting you? That's all problems here. It's in the heart. It's in the heart because you can't accept that. I remember one of the brothers that was reading, if I'm not going to exaggerate, he got stopped, not reading the Quran, reading the book on the Shaykh. He probably got stopped every sentence. Imagine a crowd in front of you online. He's a reader, probably thousands of people just listening. He's getting stopped, everything for mistakes. And he kept, Ahsan Allah ilayk, Ahsan Allah ilayk. May Allah. Look what they reply. Look what they reply to students. This is every student when they get corrected there. They say, Ahsan Allah ilayk, Shaykh. Ahsan Allah ilayk, Shaykh. May Allah grant you goodness. That's what they reply when they fix them. Every time they get fixed, Ahsan Allah ilayk, Ahsan Allah ilayk. They don't get agitated. They don't get angry. Because they got taught, they got raised on this. Overlooking his shortcomings. This one I was mentioning going in extremes. When people go in extremes, they overlook everything, the big stuff and the small stuff. He's pretty much ma'soom. He doesn't get judged. Pretty much like that's some people. And some people they wait for him just to slip, just a little slip, gone out of the eyes of the person. Who are we to sit there dropping paper out of the paper? Every human makes mistakes, brothers. Every human, your sheikh's going to make mistakes. Even in etiquette, he's going to make some mistake. He's going to make mistake in something that you look, how's that coming from him? But overlooking. That should be a principle for everything. Overlooking your sheikh's mistakes, overlooking your wife's mistakes, overlooking your family mistakes, your friends' mistakes. Because if we don't overlook, we're not going to live a good life. If we're going to pick on everything. And this is a little trend that happens here. And this is I'm warning me before use and then use. Especially with online news. Caught him, refuted. Gone. They put an X on him. He's dropped literally from the manhaj. If not dropped from the Islam, he's not dropped out of the circle of Islam, he's dropped on the manhaj, he's dropped on the way. That is nothing to do with taking knowledge. He made a mistake, just a word, literally. He says the same aqidah, the same manhaj, the same way. He differed with one little ruling here, he's dropped. Even if he's wrong. Is that how we drop people? Know our places. Don't get sucked in that when they straight away when it goes onto the YouTube and they say with a big picture refuted or hit the bet, leave it. Don't give two blinks to it. No business. If the scholars were to warn from him, they'll warn from him. Not some little student of knowledge that just started learning Arabic language. Refuted him and he refuted him. Refuted someone that's learning knowledge for 40 years and he's started 2 days in literally Nahw al-Wadih and taking some Arabic course and that's it, he's refuting everybody. Overcoming the mistakes of your sheikh or overlooking the mistakes of your sheikh or overlooking the mistakes of the shaykhat or the girls that teach or the women that teach, overlooking even the sisters. Obviously the sisters that are teaching are going to have mistakes. They're going to have that thing you don't like. Overlook. Small mistakes overlook. Gets bigger, you refer to authority on that place in masjid and they speak if it's a problem. But to drop someone from the manhaj for that and say wouldn't take, that's a problem. He said seeking his permission when one wants to study with another sheikh. And it's different here. Kind of differs from if you have time and they're all from the same organization. Obviously you're going to study from him to him to him. This is referring like for example overseas, you're studying with a sheikh for a long period of time. Because over there, obviously they don't have organizations like we do. Because it's a Muslim country. They just have mashayikh, they are all under one, you know. But here, we have an organization with 30 mashayikh, literally you study everything with them. But here is the etiquettes of seeking knowledge. Like for example, you're studying with this sheikh for years and years and years. And you found, that you can benefit from another sheikh, but it coincides with that day that you take with the sheikh. But you need to take this from the etiquettes you ask the sheikh. I think I told the brother yesterday, one of them, to ask his sheikh before he comes here. He's here, so I think his sheikh gave him the get there. Like ask. That's the etiquette. Seeking his permission where you are there. Likewise, the seeker should avoid. This is everybody. Avoid arguing in his presence to intent to show off, to show that you know this question or this ruling. Arguing in his presence to know that, show the sheikh that you're on this level. Avoid it, brothers. Avoid it. We don't need it. You're there to seek knowledge to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Avoid this stuff. Avoid being known. Don't put that in your head. Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam Ahmed, Abu Hanifa, Imam Malek, all of them that came after him, they never had madahib. They never wanted to be known, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened the door for him. Preceding him in speech, beating him in speech, he's speaking in he's trying to say a word and you're literally going on top of him. That's from disrespect. That's disrespecting always. From anyone that's speaking. When someone speaks, let him finish speaking, the sheikh or someone. And then if he gives you that time, he gives you the space to speak. That's from the etiquettes. All the mashayikh that you speak to. For example, all of the brothers here, they stay with their mashayikh during the week. You ask him a question, he starts speaking, but sheikh. Have that respect for the sheikh. Give him the space to speak and reply. Give him the space. Walking ahead of him. Look at the etiquette I used to pick up on. Walking ahead of your sheikh. This applies even walking ahead of your dad. The one that you respect a lot. Just giving your back to him. Giving your back to him feels like it's wrong. I remember there was a story of Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen that he pushed one of the students that walked in front of him. The student got up and I think he narrated the story, I'm pretty sure. He said, a long time ago, he pushed him like that from disrespect, but he learned. He started walking in front of the sheikh and, never walk in front of him, never go ahead of him, trying to beat him and put your back to him and that's from disrespect to the sheikh. Speaking excessively in his presence, keep speaking, doesn't stop. Radio. Some brothers, subhanAllah, they love speaking and does not stop. Keep going. Especially the sheikh sitting there, he's trying to be patient to teach the class and he keeps speaking. This goes back to what? Knowing your surroundings. Knowing your surroundings. Be aware, brothers. Don't be those people that they just lost in everything. Their surroundings, they don't know what's going on. They're just in a different world. No. Be aware. Sisters, be aware in your surroundings. what to do, when to do. I want to repeat this a lot because it's very, very important to a talib, to a student of knowledge, very, very important. You've been given a position, so you have to take it with everything. Understand this. This is why we've done the course. Be aware. Interrupting him. Never interrupt your sheikh. He's speaking. Do not ask him questions until he's finished. One of the things that they bar us from doing, or not bar us from, it's from the customs over there, you're not allowed to ask a question during the lesson. You would have to wait 45 minutes. You probably forgot the question that was in the beginning of the lesson. 45 minutes or an hour, or sometimes even 3-4 hours, depending on what class you're in, to ask the question at the end of it. You're not interrupting him. He has a book to teach. And then why, I'll tell you this why very important, because a lot of the lessons that we sit in and they get interrupted like that, the conversation gets taken left and right from that question. That's why they're very strict on that. Leave it for the end. You have a question from the sheikh, write it down on a piece of paper, on your phone, put it on the side. When I finish, I want to ask the sheikh about this. Do not interrupt him in his class. Asking him questions a lot, or pushing him to answer certain questions. For example, let me give you a question, a little example. You're in a class. You have this question that, the boys all want this question answered. All of you have agreed you want this question answered, and you're seeing there asking the sheikh for this question to be answered. It's not for the etiquettes. The sheikh is telling you, he's ignoring you, or he's saying you, if you have to realize this, or you have to have this, this question be answered in your head. No, sheikh. This is not from the etiquettes of a seeker of knowledge. Give you a principle. Ask questions, there are actions, there's action after it. There's action after it. Ask questions that there's actions after it. Do not ask questions that there's no action after it. Don't ask questions like that literally nothing built on it after it. Doesn't benefit. Ask questions that there's action after it, meaning that you're asking the question, you're going to act upon this question after it. It's going to benefit you. And this is especially in front of an audience, like I said, in front of the friends and that. Persisting on the sheikh, making fun of people, putting him in a corner position. A question he may not know or may not know to answer in that position, or you have to realize this stuff. Calling him by his name. Calling the sheikh by his name. For example, a bloke says, Sheikh Muhammad Fulan. Hey Muhammad. Or Mawi. Or Mo. That's disrespect to the sheikh. First of all, that sheikh title that's been given to him, 100% is being authorized by the mashayikh before him. And a lot of them don't want that title, but they've been authorized by mashayikh to give him that title. Meaning that the sheikh saying something in him, okay, he has that position now. So he has authority. So you call him by Sheikh Fulan. Even if he gets Ustaz Fulan, Dr. Fulan. Give him the respect. The Prophet said, Anzilun Nasa Manazilahum. Put the people in their places. Whatever position they have, you give it to them. You didn't go overboard, you didn't go on this. Not Mawi. Understand, brothers, because this person that's speaking to is the holder of the flag of La ilaha illallah. He's the caller to it. We have to respect these people. Put them top of our heads. Irritating him or testing his patience. A lot of us are very, very annoying in this stuff. Irritating the sheikh and just testing his patience. A lot of them just ask random questions that just, the sheikh looks at them like, what? It's questions like, for example, does a shaitan get married? Or how many kids does a shaitan can get? It's annoying. Like, test his patience, like, what's going to benefit you? It's going to benefit you. Don't test his patience. The seeker should always be aware of going to extremes that violate the sharia and the behavior towards the sheikh. This is again the opposite side. Brothers, there is sects that go to extremes with the mashayikh. They literally put him in a position of a god or a prophet. Literally his blessed person walking. He dies, they build a shrine on him, they prostrate to him. We don't go to that. We know our boundaries. We don't go beyond that. We give him what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet gave him. We give him his position. He knows his position. We know the position. Likewise, woman. You have a woman there that became like a shaykha, that became in that position, that teaches the woman and that. She's a human in the day. And I want to mention this now. Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا تجعلوا دعاء الرسول بينكم كدعاء بعضكم بعضا. Do not make your calling of the Prophet ﷺ among yourselves as the call one of you to another. He's mentioning the place of the Prophet ﷺ. He's one person, he's on that level. Even with the Prophet ﷺ, we can't go extreme. I'm going to mention this now. The Prophet ﷺ said, I'm the master of the children of Adam on the day of judgment, and I'm not boasting. Look, and then he said, do not exaggerate in praising me, as the Christians praise the son of Mary, for I am only a slave. So call me the slave of Allah and His messenger. So if this is the greatest creation saying to us, how in the world do we build a shrine on a person, a human person that has mistakes and does and prostrate to him? How do we give someone that level? If the Prophet ﷺ is saying you do not go to those extremes, how do we give it to people that are nowhere near his level and never become to his level? We wouldn't even give it to the people like Abu Bakr, to Umar, to go to the extremes, to build a shrine and to prostrate and to call them when they're dead. وقال ربكم ادعوني وقال ربكم ادعوني. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, call me. لا تسجدوا إلى القبور. Prophet do not prostrate to the graves. Why do you exaggerate in this stuff? We make people in the level of prophets and gods, literally. But his level. Why are we making it so very, very complicated? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us literally. He said, the du'at's open to me. Prostration's only to me. Calling upon is only to me. We go call fulan. Call 1, 2, 3. Who are they? They're dead. Then wallah, they're not going to answer you. They're not answering you. Likewise, do not go extreme in the mashayikh. To make them literally extreme in that sense and extreme in which the wala and bara is to them. Literally, who he loves, we love. And who he hates, we hate. Literally, that's the level that we become now. Even if someone goes against him in a question or in a verdict or ruling in fiqh matters that there's literally ikhtilaf and different opinion in it, we hate him because he went against our shaykh. What's that extreme? None of our shaykhs taught us that. None of them. None that we sit with taught us that. None of the ulama that passed us, the salaf, taught us that. None of the companions taught us that. When Ibn Abbas came and they said Abu Bakr and Umar, he was like, I'm scared that rocks come from the sky that he's saying Abu Bakr and Umar, and I'm telling you the Prophet said. Look, he's mentioning Ibn Abbas. He's like, he's saying Abu Bakr and Umar, and the Prophet sallallahu, I'm telling you the Prophet said this. The Prophet said this. And he told me Abu Bakr and Umar. Look at where Umar and Abu Bakr is, and he's telling them, you're telling me this, and the Prophet said this. But what about us when we're putting our mashayikh over literally dropping people from the manhaj and dropping people from the din because they went against our mashayikh in certain matters, a different opinion in it? Why that ruthlessness in this? Why? Not from a sake of knowledge. You're not a sake of knowledge if you have this, these description and these attributes. And he mentioned the 19th point, the seeker's capital is from his shaykh. Absorb, imitate the pious manners and the noble conduct of your shaykh. Where are you going to get your manners from? Where do you learn manners? From the streets? You're going to learn manners from the streets? A student of knowledge learns his manners from the shaykh. And that's why it's so important for the mashayikh to uphold these manners. And why we took this course, because bi'idhnillah, one day he's going to come to that level of being in that level and upholding these etiquettes and these attributes, because the person that you're teaching, you're his role model. You're going to be taken from you. So if you're teaching him these wrong etiquettes, he's taking that from you. The wrong foul language, he's taking that from you. Anger, he's taking that from you. Be aware. Be aware. You look at your shaykh, you learn from him adab, akhlaq, manners, etiquettes. That's who you learn from. You look at your shaykh, how he acts, how he goes about stuff. How are you going to learn? The shaykh's enthusiasm during the lessons. The shaykh feeds off the energy of his audience. This goes back, I mentioned this before. You have to give all your attention to the speaker. Why? Because this affects him. When the shaykh sees the student sleeping or the students lacking off and going back and forth, how's he going to feel? Not all the mashayikh do that, obviously, because they have, seeking knowledge. It's either him teaching or him revising, even if there's nobody in front of him. And I've seen that in my own eyes. I remember I used to be in lessons where I was the only student, and this person is one of the biggest scholars in that time, or biggest mashayikh there. Books and everything, I'm the only person there. And he teaches like he's teaching 1,000 people. Not less, no energy, nothing goes down. I don't feel like that he wants to leave me. But he has that push. So he show it back to the shaykh. Like I mentioned, when you sit with the shaykh, sit up, look at him, give him eye contact. I know, brothers, it's so hard, sometimes you fall asleep. It happened to me, and I've got put on live twice. Tell you, wake up. Mention my name, wake up twice. It happens, you fall asleep, you get tired. Someone speaking constantly and you're on the book, you start nodding off. So take that asbab. If you drink coffee, drink. If you need to sleep before you listen, if you need to move around, get up, stretch, no problem with that. Show the sheikh that you're there, you want to learn. Show the sheikh you want to learn. Don't be the person that you're there look like literally the whole world had to push you to get you there. Don't be that person, brothers. Show the sheikh that you're there, ready, book there, pen there, and you're ready to take that knowledge from him. He said the seeker should therefore remain alert, attentive, give his sheikh complete attention without letting his mind or gaze wander. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said to the audience, narrate a hadith to the audience as long as they glance at your eyes. If you see slackness from them, hold. Give them the knowledge, and as long as you see them giving what you want back, the attention. But if you see him giving him left, right, and center, and you're teaching, this is knowledge, this is deen. It has to be taken and has to be bidden on. Likewise, men and women, sisters, when you're sitting with a woman that's teaching, attention, back up firm. Give her all you have, attention, eyes, glaze. Look at them, literally let your eyes speak to the teacher saying that I want the knowledge. Especially some boys that come from far away. When the sheikh hears that you come from an hour away or hour and a half away, get so happy, like he's coming an hour away, that means he really wants knowledge. Then we have brothers that live 2 minutes away and they come like the whole world dragged them there. Writing what the sheikh says during lessons and revision. How are you going to take the knowledge? Unless you have a memory that you memorize every single thing that goes in your head without thing, your computer, how are you going to take the knowledge without revision, without notes? You have to. The etiquette of taking notes is that the seeker notifies the sheikh that he will be writing. That's one. Notify your sheikh that you're going to be writing the notes. I don't know, some sheikh maybe they want it. I don't know. Notify him. That's from the etiquette. When writing, it's a condition that the seeker indicates that he has written what he has heard from the sheikh. One of the mashayikh, he used to open the book and say what you wrote. He used to open the book and say what you wrote. So I sit there trying to explain to him. He had a 45-minute lesson and you have 2 lines. 2 lines. Especially if you're in the beginning and you're not really strong in Arabic. I remember one of the brothers, the sheikh wanted to open his book and he started having a heart attack because he's going to say his handwriting and he doesn't know what he's writing, and you have to. Notes, brothers, notes. Write down, revise. Writing what the sheikh says, we went through that. Acquiring knowledge from the innovators. This is another point. Imam al-Dhahabi said that if you say the innovating, mutakallimin, saying leave out the Quran and Sunnah and bring forth logic, that what the philosophers say, then know that he is Abu Jahl. Remember Dhahabi saying that. And if you see one of them on the spiritual path who claims to be practicing a set of prescribed forms or innovated worship, who will attain oneness with Allah, saying leave us from knowledge that is transmitted to Quran and Sunnah and bring forth the taste of passion, then know that he is Iblis, being manifest in a human form, or has become incarnated within him. So if you become cowardly, then run away from him. Otherwise, wrestle him down and sit on his chest and your knee and read Ayat al-Kursi on him and strangle him. And remember Dhahabi saying this. Look how they look at it. One of them, he said, is Abu Jahl. If he tells you leave the Quran and Sunnah and come with logic. And the other one, he's saying leave the Quran and Sunnah and come with desire and want to tell you, like, grab him, put him down and strangle him. He's Iblis. Imam Malek rahimahullah said that knowledge, hadith, is taken from four people. Not taken from four people. A foolish person who publicizes his foolishness. A foolish person does not get taken from him knowledge. It's known. Even if he was the most, the best narrator of hadith. Foolish doesn't get taken. A person of bid'ah, he calls it innovations. Nothing to do with Quran and Sunnah. Knowledge does not get taken from him. Knowledge does not get taken from him. A person who lies in his speech, I mentioned this before, lying, it has nothing to do with the student of knowledge, let alone nothing to do with Islam. Lying. The Muslim is known for the truthfulness. His tongue is always truthful. That's a Muslim. But what about the sake of knowledge that carries La ilaha illallah, pushing it forward and teaching people? How is he going to be known for lying? How does he get taken from it? Literally coming with stories down night. People have taken this member, literally Fridays, literally just to say stories. Isn't Quran and Sunnah enough? Isn't Qala Allah, Qala Rasul enough? There's a problem, listen to this, there's a problem when there's Qala Allah and Qala Rasul and it's not sufficient for you. There's a problem when there's a story getting told, you're very happy. When he says Allah said, and it's not sufficient for you, the Prophet said he's not sufficient for you, it's not a warning for you, it's not a glad tiding for you, it's sufficient. That member, when he goes up, all you have to say is Quran and Sunnah. Allah said and his Prophet said, that's what you're saying, that's what you're translating to people. All you need. Stay away from storytelling. Like I said to the brother before, he was like, how do you know if someone's joking excessively and going through? I was like, just know that if the joke keeps going, that means he's lying. A joke that he's telling the truth is not really that funny sometimes. But normally, generally, if someone's saying the truth, it's a nice joke, you giggle. But if you know this bloke's dying from laughter, you know he's lying somewhere. Nobody dies from laughter and he keeps going and he keeps going unless there's some lie in there. How long are we going for? 52 minutes. We'll stop it here. We're on chapter 4, inshallah. The etiquettes of companionship. That's very, very important, inshallah. And we'll start off next Monday. We'll try our best going through it next Monday and Tuesday as well. بإذن الله وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.